7:02, and I'm reconvening to open session and calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, April 10th, 2023. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Donahue,
Here.
Ms. Jane,
Here.
Mr. Karubas,
Here.
Mr. Rising,
Here.
Ms. Grover,
Present.
Ms. Fosdick,
Here.
and Ms. Demme.
We have a quorum. Ms. Fosdick, will you lead us in the pledge? Our next regular board meeting will be on Monday, May 1st. We have several board salutes. We'll start with Ms. Grover.
Neuqua Valley sophomore IHSA wheelchair basketball state champion. The board salutes Neuqua Valley sophomore Drew Boutel and his team for winning the Illinois High School Association wheelchair basketball state championship on Saturday, March 11th at the University of Illinois Champaign. Congratulations, Drew. District 204 Youth in Government. The board salutes the District 204 students who participated in the 74th Illinois Youth in Government State Assembly. Students throughout the state voted to elect officials in all three branches of government. District 204 students were elected to office and awarded numerous other recognitions. Neuqua Valley Junior Emerson Zhang was elected governor, Junior Brady C. Lieutenant Governor, and Junior Rudy Chen, Secretary of State. Waubonsie Valley Senior Sanya Desai was elected Chief Justice. District 204 students had another amazing year, with Neuqua Valley having 8 bills passed, Matia Valley having 6 bills passed and signed by the youth governor, and Waubonsie Valley having 3 bills passed into law. Congratulations to all the youth and government students and their sponsors.
Ms. Fosdick.
DuPage County ACT SO Awards, District 204 students. Does anyone know that? Is that how we pronounce ACT SO or ACTSO? ACTSO. Thank you. The board salutes 4 District 204 students for receiving gold medals at this year's DuPage ACTSO Awards. Neuqua Valley sophomore Brianna Harris won the poetry performance category, and junior Daniel Mason received his award in medicine and health. Waubonsie Valley freshman Brian Mann won gold in the Earth and Space Science, and junior Paisley Namowitz for computer science. ACTSO is an acronym for Afro-Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics, a year-long enrichment program designed to encourage high school academic and cultural achievement among African American high school students. The students will move on to compete at the 45th national competition held in Boston this July. Congratulations on this stellar achievement.
Mr. Karubas.
District 204 student awarded Winter National Student Photography Contest Champion. The board salutes Neuqua Valley sophomore Sohail Fong for winning the national championship in the Student Life category for the Student Photographers of America. Middle and high school students all over the country submitted thousands of entries for the 4 different categories: school sports, student life, senior superlative, and creative. The School Photographers of America is the national trade association for school photography and yearbooks. Their mission is to educate, advocate, promote, protect, and preserve the great tradition of school photography and yearbooks. Congratulations, Sohail, on this stellar achievement. Also, the Neuqua Valley Junior wins American Legion Department of Illinois High School Oratorical Contest. The board salutes Neuqua Valley Junior April Zhang for being awarded the American Legion Department of Illinois High School Oratorical Contest on Saturday, March 4th in Springfield, Illinois. The oratorical contest was developed to give a deeper knowledge to high school students on the appreciation of the Constitution of the United States. April won a $2,000 scholarship and will represent the state of Illinois at the national finals in Indianapolis, Indiana on April 21st 22nd, and 23rd. Congratulations, April.
Miss Jane.
Neuqua Valley Juniors receive Young Artist Awards. The board salutes Neuqua Valley Juniors Jack and Jerry Zhu, who were awarded the College of Fine Arts and Communication Young Artists Awards by Western Illinois University College for their visual art. The award recognizes, celebrates, and recruits the best high school junior talent in the arts within the state of Illinois. Congratulations, Jack and Jerry. Another announcement. Business Professionals of America State and National Qualifiers. The board salutes students from all 3 District 204 high schools who were recently named Business Professionals of America National Qualifiers. Metea Valley has 15 national qualifiers, Neuqua Valley has 23, and Waubonsie Valley has 40. In addition, 2 juniors from Waubonsie Valley Business Professionals of America were elected as state officers for the 2023-2024 term. Ria Shah is the newly elected state president, and Samita Subramanian was elected vice president of State Newsletter. Good luck at the national conference in April, and congratulations to each of these BPA students and their advisors.
Let's give an applause for all of those accomplishments. Some really great stuff. All right, now we will have our student representative report by Sophia Lee from Waubonsie Valley High School. Hi, Sophia.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sophia Lee. Good evening, and I am here today to represent Waubonsie Valley High School. As a Warrior, I am proud to report once again that our community continues to provide many amazing opportunities for our students. So starting off, we had an outstandingly competitive season for our clubs and activities. Our chess team were the sectional and regional champs and ended up taking 7th at state, a top finish for our school and for all 204-203 high schools. Scholastic Bowl Regionals was hosted at W and we took the championship. This is the 3rd year in a row, but we always seem to run into IMSA in the sectional. Big shout out to senior Ty Kelly, who for 4 years has led our school bowl team and was recently named to the All-State team. BPA is sending 41 students on to nationals, and DECA is sending 6 students on to nationals. Our Model UN met with the ambassador to Turkey as they competed at state in downtown Chicago. The team brought back several top awards. Youth and Gov had 34 delegates elected to state office, including top honors of Sania Desai being elected to the position of Chief Justice. This is the 5th time DevV has held this position. Moving on in terms of athletics, the Waubonsie Valley winter athletics season came to a conclusion since our last report, and a couple of our programs ended on a high note. Our boys swim and dive team followed up their DVC conference championship with an IHSA sectional championship. The following week, our boys swim and dive team competed in the IHSA state championships and finished 10th in state. Our girls basketball program won their 2nd consecutive IHSA regional championship with a 50-45 victory over Naperville North. The following week, the Warriors took down Naperville Central in the sectional semifinals with a 75-65 victory. Unfortunately, their season came to an end in the IHSA sectional championship and finished their season with a 23-7 record. The spring season is in full swing at 12 IHSA sports sports are taking place on the campus of Waubonsie Valley. The spring sports include badminton, baseball, boys and girls lacrosse, girls soccer, softball, boys tennis, boys and girls track and field, boys volleyball, and boys and girls water polo. During the spring, we have 570 athletes participating at Waubonsie Valley, which brings our yearly total to 1,380 student athletes during the 2022 to 2023 school year. DuPage Valley Conference play for all of our programs are just getting started. We are excited to see all of our athletic programs compete throughout the spring season. Go Warriors! And finally, moving on to athletics, This past semester, we had over 1,483 students earned a 3.6 or greater GPA. And this upcoming Wednesday and Thursday, we administer the SAT and PSAT testing to our students. We look forward to this testing day. And in early May, there will be 949 students who will be taking 1880 AP exams in May. And this is a 12.5% increase over last year's numbers. That's all for the Waubonsie Valley Board Report. Thank you, and as always, go Warriors.
Sophia, will you be back again? Or is this your last
Yes.
report?
No, I'll be back in May.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, good. Okay, it is now time for public comment, and 60 minutes is allowed. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups, and as such, ask that you consider the audience members who are here this evening and keep comments age appropriate. Public comment represents the voice and opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. Although this is not required, it is helpful for the board to know whether your comments and concerns we hear are being raised by residents. So we ask that you state if you live in the district and if you currently have children in our schools. We have 16 speakers tonight, and Ms. Jane is going to help me out with announcing the speaker names.
The first speaker is Parneet Arora.
Hi everyone and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Praneet from Stonebridge Community.
It's hard to hear, yeah,
Better?
better.
Good evening, everyone. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Stonebridge Community, representing my community who's been impacted by the IDOT survey. I'm talking here about the busing services and the decision the decision of the school district board to stop the busing to Stonebridge Community. I have 2 beautiful kids and 6 years ahead of me of this commitment. I'm not going to talk about a lot about everything, but I'm going to touch mainly 4 points. And I really expect that you are our representatives, and you hear us with the same passion that we are here for. And a lot of people here have taken out time because we passionately believe that this is not the right decision. The first point that I want to make is that there are no crosswalks from Stonebridge Community out to Eula Road. And I'm not talking just based off of anything, I'm talking based off of evidence. I'm going to leave this printout here, but you can see that our kids, when they walk out of the Stonebridge, which is about 0.8 miles from the school, there are no crosswalks to go to the main road, Eola, which has horrendous traffic in the morning hours. How do we expect our kids to carry their backpacks and go on a road where there is incoming traffic right in their face, no cross guards, no one to look out for? Are we really waiting for a fatality to happen? Who's going to be responsible? That's my first point. And I know you all are here, you all understand what I'm saying, you all are parents, you're all educated enough. My second point here is, this is a cold country. I'm talking based off of a report that I pulled from online. Just Googled it. I'm going to leave this print out here as well. The freezing temperatures, it's not inclemental weather for a day, a week, a month, 5 months of harsh winter weather. And we expect our kids to carry their backpacks, after-school activities, projects, instruments. If they're in some clubs, we expect them to carry all that material, and on top of it, wear snow boots, snow pants, walk across a road which has no guards, no salt, all is graveled. Here is my third printout. This is a sidewalk from Stonebridge on Eola. If the kids have to go, they have to go on this gravel sidewalk, which is never salted. Think about ice, winter, less than 30 degrees weather, wind blowing in your face. Not to mention that there are a lot of kids who have skin problems. Are we really expecting this from our young kids? Is that fair enough? What are we really thinking? I believe the IDOT survey is based on just one metric, and that is distance. But that's not all.
Ms. Donahue, the speaker's time has ended.
Thank
The
you,
last
Ms.
thing that I
Aurora.
wanted-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Tiffany Russell.
Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. I'm come to you with some of the same concerns. I guess my first concern is the transparency. I know that you all value yourselves on transparency, and it's something that you've worked really hard to provide. And my understanding is if you're a current high school parent, there's a chance that you received an email of information, but not all of my friends who are high school parents have received it. And for those of us who are middle school parents who are knowing that if you make this decision now, it's going to impact our children in a year or two, it would have been nice to have that transparency across the board if an email was sent out, to be sent out to everyone. I know, Dr. Talley, you send emails out to us all the time with important information, and I appreciate that. So this would have been an opportunity that would have been helpful to everyone. Thankfully, I do get the information, and I am invested in our district, as I know all of you are. And when I think of that, I have to ask myself, and maybe you can respond, what is the basis for the decision? I know that we've decided to redo this IDOT report. I've read all your information now across the district, and that you believe that the information is outdated according to the information I've read. But why now? Why the change? The hazards have not changed. I'm also curious, is there a walkway contract? Because I live in Stonebridge as well, and to walk, I back up to Indian Plains. And to walk across the field of Indian Plains or to walk down Stonebridge Boulevard and to come up Eola, what is the walkway contract? Because right now it's a roughed in gravel path on one side of the road and nothing really on the other side. So I do see it as a safety concern to our students. Also, I think when I think of the traffic, and I know you all have traveled Eola, you know the traffic. And you know in the morning, I hate to say it, our traffic light turns green and the high school kids and the parents see it from my mini subdivision in the Greens. And I think that if the police were there, they would pull over hundreds of cars a day. Because as soon as they see it green in the mile-long distance, they hit the gas to get it. Because they don't want to sit there for another 4 minutes. Everyone's been there at a time, right? And these kids are trying to get there, the parents are trying to get there. Eola is backed up in the morning with traffic already. And to think that then those of us who do work, as I know many of you do, to have to think that now I have to try to get into that car line or have my kids walking across that traffic in the morning and dealing with people who are not always cognizant. They're trying to get to school, they're trying to get to work, they're trying to drop their kids off. They have an agenda too, and I don't know that we're always as cognizant as we should be
Ms.
as adults.
Donahue, the speaker time has ended.
And
Thank
so
you,
I
Ms.
hope you'll take that
Russell.
into consideration. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Don Forden.
Congratulations on your newly elected positions and your re-elected positions. I'm Dawn Forden, and I have 3 kids in the school district. I have lived in Country Club Village for 22 years, knowing that we would have this transportation, so I'm here to also voice my concerns. As Tiffany mentioned, I did not receive this information. It came via Facebook of neighbors. Very disappointed that I didn't have direct information, so hopefully we can work on that. I also manage risk and liability for a career that I've been in for 30 years. And this is highly concerning to me that we would be asking our children to cross Indian Trail and Eola in the dark, in which most of the kids go to school in. I do know that this intersection in particular is the intersection that has the most accidents in the city of Aurora. It's not number one, it's certainly in the top 5. That is concerning that we are now asking our children to walk this intersection to get to Matia Valley High School. More and more people are going back to the office. I myself go to the city many times during the week, as does my husband, and we are not in a position to be able to drive our children to school and back home from school. And I can tell you that that traffic that you will also be adding for those parents that can will only increase the traffic heading north and south on Eola, which, as you know, is already a problem. I'm assuming you do, because I also see a lot of flag markers going on with that street, and I'm not sure what's going on. Are we looking to add lanes? Are we looking to add sidewalks? Maybe you guys have that information and could also share that with us. At the end of the day, I feel that we have been misled a little bit or not informed. This is going to be taking place apparently for the coming school year, and I think it is a liability to our community, to families, and certainly to the school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Eklavya Chandok.
Hi, so I'm a student at Matia Valley, so I come with the perspective of a kid who actually has to walk the streets and not just a parent. So I believe that buses should not be disqualified as a source of transportation for us students who live about 1.5 miles from high school, because they provide a really safe and reliable mode of transportation for us. And we also arrive at school most of the times, excluding some winter times and other stormy days. And it also reduces the added stress of traffic. And buses are really important. For me, I wrestle at school, so I participate in after-school activities. And some of those late buses, too, they're also important for us. And additionally, during the winter months, as I stated before, they offer a safe and warm transportation source for us students, because it would be harder for us to brave harsh weather conditions and the icy sidewalks to get to school. And moreover, like the other student representative said, that there's been a 12.5% increase in AP students. All these AP classes give us like 6-pound textbooks. I know because I'm in a couple of those, and I have to carry them back and forth from school every day. And usually during the summer, I walk to school just to get extra steps in, but that shouldn't be a reason that buses should be disqualified. And also, disqualifying buses should be, it would lead to an increase in traffic congestion that will also contribute to more pollution, which will cause a financial burden for families, and it will also create a safety hazard due to more cars on the road. And as I was saying earlier, from my perspective, last year I did get hit by a car in our student parking lot. It wasn't really fatal because it kind of bumped into me, but it was because there were a lot of cars in that parking lot. And stopping buses from being transportation for us, these like 200 families in Stonebridge, would really increase, not just Stonebridge, Harris Farms and other places 1.5 miles away from school. It would really increase the traffic, as I was saying, which would lead to much more accidents. And although I didn't get hurt, I'm sure a few other kids would get hurt. And today I was walking back from school because I did an after-school activity, and basically on the gravel path everyone was mentioning, they're doing some construction, and there's like 4-foot holes just like 3 feet deep into the ground, 4 by 4 by 3, just like in the middle. And you have to like basically like tip walk, like line walk right next to the road where there's just a bunch of trucks passing by. And that's not safe for us because a lot of people can fall. And there's also like, I probably counted like 25 shards of glass bottles on the way there. So that's also really dangerous. And that's pretty much all, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Srinivasan Vakakarne.
Hey, I'm Srini Vakarane. I have two kids. One is in the 9th grade, another one is 11th grade. Both goes to Mitia. Lot of things are repetition, but mainly myself I run on that gravel thing. It is really dangerous. I can easily find you 5 glass pieces each time I run. That's not not at all safe. It can. The other problem I see is like the cars or even the trucks comes on the opposite direction. There is no speed limit. Some come like I can tell you 70 speed, which will make you to really nervous. And if the kids get onto the one step onto the road, it is really dangerous. So we talk about so much about kids safety and other things. This is in my mind. I used to work for a manufacturing company. There's a lot of EPA restriction, all these things, emission and other things, and we are introducing more emission actually here with this kind of things, right? If you introduce school bus, in my mind, analogy is like Metra says, right? You travel in Metra, it saves this. Similarly, we should introduce a bus. Actually, we should promote the bus. Hey, I don't allow the cars. Come in the bus. It's kind of reverse I see in this decision. At least hope you guys consider that one. And I think with that, I completed all my points. Probably it's a repetition. I don't want to repeat a lot of things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Pratyaks Patel.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Pratyaks Patel. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to bring the concern that a lot of my other colleagues bring it. So first of all, definitely very disappointed on to the communication, as a lot of other colleagues mentioned that we have received this information through the social media. Why we are not getting any kind of email communication. And then the few things that I will mention that I don't want to repeat what all of other individuals mentioned. I'll be very honest and very upfront. Stonebridge community is one of the highest taxpayer of the area. And this basically discontinuing the bus services that depraves the whole area. And I consider we all live in 21st century where bus services is more often a very basic service that we should provide to our kids. So that's the one thing. The other thing I would mention as well is like there is no proper cycle pathway. Let's assume, forget about the weather, let's assume the weather will be very nice, we'll be all in 80-degree situation, but then there is no cycle pathway. So how do you expect kids to travel? Okay, my kids can carry the 6 pounds of the books, they can wear the heavy jackets and everything, but then how do you expect them to use their bike? With the 50 mile of hour, like all the cars are going on the Eola road, which is very dangerous. I think those are the only points I would say. Beyond that, what all of other mentioned about the weather, snow, a lot of the construction going on, the traffics, but I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Next speaker is Gayatri Jambanathan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to present our side. I concur with everything all the speakers before me have mentioned. I have 3 kids at Metea. I will tell you, I have not gone to pick up my kid one day at school when they didn't have to stay late. Every single day, my son has taken the bus home, and my daughter, every single day. So it's being used. I see the number of kids who get off the bus at our bus stop. It is a lot. The bus is full. So clearly, there is a need for these kids to have the bus service to our homes. The, all the other points, the congestion, the traffic at Eola, you can feel the wind when these cars are going by at high speeds. So it's not safe. It's a very small sidewalk on one side of the road, gravel, the glass, the weather, of course, walking, and the bus doesn't even come into our subdivision. It literally just stops at the beginning. The kids still have to walk, to our homes from the bus stop. So even that in inclement weather is okay, but at least we are not, Eola is not some side street in a subdivision. It's just like Route 59. It's super busy. And, it's being used, and the kids use it consistently every single day. So, taking away this option of so many kids who can use a public transport and forcing now parents who are now going back to work to make time during their day to get into that really busy car line at Metea. I mean, if you've been there, that's 1 hour of your day gone just to drop your kid and pick them up. Not to mention all the gas we are burning and staying there just to get them to and from school. So I really implore this board to reconsider your decision to discontinue bus service to our subdivision. I think it's one of the things that, guarantees our kids get safely to and from school. And I think that's one of the basic needs we can provide to them, and really takes the burden off of parents to give this basic right to our kids. And it's sensible, it's practical, it's eco-friendly, of course. Now, so many cars getting in line. We already carpool sometimes, but it's not practical at 6:30 in the morning to carpool with sleepy kids, as you all might be aware. So bus is a great option. It's been working out wonderfully for us for the past 3-4 years, for our family in particular. And I know so many families are in the same boat. So please do reconsider your decision. There might be some factual reasons for which you made this decision, but clearly the community needs it. The entire subdivision needs it. Our kids need it. Even one accident is too much if, as a result of this decision, there is a fatality or just an injury on that very busy Eola Road, on that intersection. It's not safe. So the bus is the safest option for these kids to get to and from school. So please do reconsider all the points made by my neighbors in our subdivision. Excellent
Ms.
points.
Donahue, the speaker time has ended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
The next speaker is Bharat Shah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you have really walked by Eola Road, by the Stone Bridge and Indian Trail Road? Have you ever done anything after you made a decision? Please do so. It's a question of the lives of our kids, the future generation. Illinois compiled statutes 105 ILCS 529.3, chapter 122, paragraph 29.3. It says, the local law enforcement agency, in consultation with the state superintendent of education, should be consulted. Was it consulted before the decision was made? We all know Eola Road is a very heavy traffic. Recently, I made a request. We had put do not block intersection sign. In spite, people are blocking intersection line. You can't cross the road. If I, an old man, cannot do it, can we expect our kids to do that? Stonebridge, very affluential community with 1,000 plus homes. Do you know how much taxes we are giving to the school? We are giving 65.2% of our tax money goes to the school, 204 district. Let me tell you in the dollar wise. Average EAV about 193,000, and we are paying per house average $9,200 to $10,200 toward the school taxes. That amounts to $9.2 million to $10.2 million just by Stonebridge to the school. Now, rather than giving better services, you want to take away the services so our children suffer. Now, cold winter, try to walk. And look at the road, the walk path by Stonebridge, west side. Gravel road, lot of glasses, very dangerous, heavy traffic, trucks going. Now another truck station open up by the Eola and Dill Road. You're gonna see the heavy traffic. Let's look at our kids, look at their safety. Guns are killing our children. Now do we want to get our children killed by the traffic? That is my request. Please kindly reconsider your decision. Not for us, just for our kids. Let them grow up, let them enjoy, let them give back to our society. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Pankil Shah.
Hi, good evening. My name is Pankil Shah. I have two children lives in the goes to the Brooks Elementary, so they are still young. We haven't received the communications. I guess everybody said it before me, so I don't want to repeat the same thing. We haven't received the communication. I got to know via Facebook, and there is a members group out there on WhatsApp. That's how I came to know. Filed the petition. I guess we are enough said about the safety. I and my wife, we travel downtown every single day, so I know what traffic looks like. We make a right turn on the Yola and literally have to wait there for 4 minutes. There are kids, they are trying to, poor kids, whoever they walk, trying to cross the road. It's heavily traffic. The light turns on for seconds, right? And then people are trying to make a right turn to get to work. So it's always an issue. Students are trying to walk there. Some are on the bikes in the summer, but I can't even imagine what happens in the winter. I mean, 2 years now, we, because of COVID, lesser traffic, downtown were mostly closed, but now things are reopening, right? We also are going back to work and stuff, I see more and more increased traffic. And God forbid if the bus services stop, it's gonna get quadruple, I can't even imagine, going there and just dropping my kids off to Mattia, come back and take the station, is probably half a day's over. I know it's exaggerating, but that's all it seems like. Without the traffic, if I have to spend like an hour to drop them off and go to the school, with the traffic, I don't even know. So hopefully you guys can reconsider and put the service back on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Alicia Smith.
Hello. I am a current resident, former student, and former teacher. Do you want me to wait? Okay. I can start now?
Yeah.
I am a current resident, former teacher, and former student in 204. Indian Prairie School District 204 states that they have a commitment to equity and educational excellence, yet not all schools are included in this commitment. 4 204 schools fall below the state average in state testing: Fisher, Georgetown, Longwood, and McCarty. The teachers, students, and families are striving for educational excellence, but the administration and school board are not committed to equity for those schools. When the district designed the boundaries of Gombert, Longwood, and McCarty, it gave them a low-income, free and reduced lunch population that is more than doubled the district average of 18%. Georgetown's low-income, free and reduced lunch population is more than tripled the district average of 18%. Then the district created even more inequity by having 3 of those schools feed into Fisher Middle School. A student attending either Georgetown or McCarty from kindergarten through 5th grade and then attending Fisher will have attended a school for 9 years that has not met the state average in testing. School districts do not have to create inequitable schools that cannot meet the state testing averages. Naperville 203 has a similar low-income, free and reduced lunch population to Indian Prairie School District 204. Naperville 203's low-income, free and reduced lunch average is 15%. Unlike Indian Prairie School District 204, Naperville 203 does not have a single school with a low-income, free and reduced lunch average that is more than double the district average. As a result, every single school in Naperville 203 is well above the state average in testing. I worked at Georgetown School as a teacher for 6 years. Georgetown has the highest low-income percentage in 204. Then I went to work in 203, and I'm currently finishing my 6th year teaching at the school in 203 that has the highest percentage of low-income, free and reduced lunch ratio in 203, Scott School. The comparison between the two schools, there are no comparisons. It's apple to oranges, what the schools look like when it comes to learning and teaching. Indian Prairie School District 204's commitment to equity and educational excellence should be for all of its schools. The administration and school board should not be designing schools with inequitable obstacles for teachers, students, and families to overcome. We deserve to be included in the district's educational excellence. We want equitable schools for Fisher, Georgetown, Gombert, Longwood, and McCarty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Veronica Andrade.
Good evening. Thank you for being able to pronounce my last name correctly. Though I've been here a couple of times, so I knew it was going to come, so I appreciate that. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Veronica. I have 3 children, all attending Gombert Elementary. They will be Fisher Falcons when they leave Gombert. We reside in the Colony Lake subdivision, which is about 1.2 miles away from Fisher. School busing was taken away from those students in our neighborhood, and all those students are forced to walk to school. These are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. The district is obligated to make equitable decisions to all students in 204 when it comes to learning and transportation. The path that middle school students take from our neighborhood to Fisher may be safe on paper, but if you frequently drive Yola Road during all hours, you will witness car driving well past the speed limit on a road that curves. And while this administration has said those dangers don't exist during the times when the students are walking along that path, that logic just doesn't make sense. The danger doesn't just disappear for certain hours of the day. And why wait for a tragedy to happen to a student during the walking hours to deem that path unsafe? The district is playing a dangerous game with probability in which our students are the pawns, and that is unacceptable. 204 loves to pride itself for promoting equity throughout the district, yet Georgetown, which my sister mentioned, feeds into Fisher, has a very high free and low-income population. Parents who have students at Georgetown will not hesitate to speak on the frequency of behavior problems that have disrupted the learning environment. It's not the same school I attended as a 4th grade student. High free and reduced lunch population is a breeding ground for behavior problems, teacher turnaround, and low academic test scores. This is not news to anyone who has the basic understanding of demographics and education. And while this school board leadership, with its combined academic levels that span doctorates, masters, and decades of continued learning, thought it was in the best interest of our children to redraw boundary lines to which 3 Title I schools all feed into one middle school. This decision has negative impacts: bullying, increased fighting on school property, low academic testing scores falling below the state average. Instead of redrawing lines to promote equity in the district, they actually decrease equity and currently are doing nothing to fix the chaos they created. I urge the board members to hold the leadership to the bare minimum standard that it states in the equity statement on the website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Riley Lee.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Riley Liu and I'm a senior at Matila Valley High School, and I'm the co-chair of the Naperville Environmental and Sustainability Task Force, NESC, their youth team. So earlier this year we met with the District 204, a couple of the administrators here, and we heard that they are doing great things concerning sustainability, and I'm here to speak to you about a survey we sent out earlier this year asking students, teachers, staff, and parents, and members of both the 203 and 204 communities about their opinions on environmental issues. When NESC met earlier this year with the District 204 administrators, we discussed the current sustainable practices of 204 and if they plan or would be open to implementing additional sustainable practices. From this meeting, we gathered that 204 was very interested in student and community support. So after our meeting, the NESC youth team created a sustainable school survey to send out to students, staff, and the community members. This survey was 10 questions long, gauging the community support for things such as recycling, waste reduction, composting, electric buses, solar efficiency, or planting native or edible gardens. So then in total, we had approximately 1,100 respondents and found widespread support for these initiatives. The results show that approximately 83% of respondents thought that even if these measures cost the district a little bit of money, it would be worth the return to reduce greenhouse emissions in 204 buildings. Many of these sustainability measures, like solar panels, which have support from 82% of survey respondents, will actually save the district money. Adoption of things like electric buses will reduce air pollution and which is better for student health than the diesel buses, and received similar widespread support. We encourage you to act on the findings of this survey because not only the economic benefit, current support, but because of how it will affect future generations. Climate change is a current issue that we are already starting to feel some of the effects, and we will continue to see more within this generation. We will follow up with you via email with the complete data from this survey, and we have a couple more speakers about more specific aspects. Thank you very much for listening and for your time, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Riley.
The next speaker is Manish Murali.
Hi, I'm Vani, and this is Monish. We're a senior and junior, respectively, from Neuqua Valley, and we also wanted to speak on behalf of the Naperville Environmental Sustainability Task Force.
We are here today to discuss the importance of implementing energy-efficient heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems within our district schools.
So currently, 41% of school districts in the U.S. spend upwards of $2 billion every single year running outdated heating and cooling systems. And this, apart from costing us extra money, it also runs on fossil fuels like natural gas, which is 80 times more damaging than CO2 to our environment. And being in a city where we experience weather of all types, from hailstorms to super hot summers and wind chills down to -40 degrees, climate control in high-use buildings like schools is incredibly important and incredibly costly, so it's imperative that we tackle this issue.
By updating our heating and cooling systems, we're using energy-efficient methods to save money and provide a healthy, comfortable environment for teachers and students alike. Moreover, there are changes we can make right now. For instance, one way in which we could do this would be switching out gas-fueled boilers for air source or geothermal heat pumps.
And the community is all for these climate-conscious changes. NEST recently conducted a survey of over 1,100 students, parents, teachers, and staff across Districts 203 and District 204, and found that 82% of respondents strongly supported energy-efficient heating and cooling, and a vast majority also back other provisions like electric buses, composting, and installing solar panels in our schools.
These changes are already being made all over the country. Updating our heating and cooling systems is viable, prevents unnecessary greenhouse gas emissions, and even saves us money over the long run. As such, we hope that you take these suggestions into consideration moving forward in making Naperville a more sustainable city, and we thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Alicia Matthew.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Matthew, and I am a sophomore at Mattia Valley High School. I'm speaking today as a representative of the Naperville Environmental and Sustainability Task Force's youth team regarding environmentally friendly waste management systems. In the United States alone, people throw away enough plastic bottles a week to circle the world 5 times. Current research estimates that by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish, due to plastics entering our waterways and killing more than 1 million animals annually. Zooming in on District 204, in a survey conducted by NEST with over 1,100 responses, 63% of respondents heavily support composting. Additionally, 58% of respondents in District 204 support the use of reusable materials versus plastic and styrofoam in the lunchrooms. As a matter of fact, one of the comments we received on the survey was, "Get rid of styrofoam plates," in all capitals. Furthermore, the students do not believe that there is an effective recycling system in place, and those who do think there is a recycling system at their school do not understand it. Regarding recycling and composting, schools are an integral part of what makes us the people we are. Our school district needs to set an example for recycling, since students are more likely to carry this practice into adulthood if it is established early on. Additionally, reducing and reusing waste can save money in the long run. Composting can offer a way for the school to utilize food waste, like uneaten fruits and veggies, to help improve the outward appearance and the inward experience of the school. Regarding environmentally friendly utensils and plates, one middle school can produce 30,000 pounds of waste in its lunchroom every year. Much of this waste is plastic, and in a study recently performed in Amsterdam, 80% of otherwise healthy human subjects had microplastics in their bloodstreams. Additionally, it was recently reported that plastics can leach unhealthy chemicals that can disrupt normal endocrine processes. As a student in District 204, I believe it is essential to replace our waste management systems with more environmentally friendly options. And I, alongside all the other environmentally conscious individuals, are in full support of any policies that will be put into place to help reduce our landfill waste. I urge you to take action against this pressing issue, and I hope that you will recognize how urgent of a situation this is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Vallabh Arun.
Good evening, I am Vallabh Arun and I am a sophomore at Wabanzi Valley High School. Today I stand before you as a part of the Nest Youth Team in support of the installation of solar panels on school buildings. In a survey recently conducted with over 1,100 responses, over 82% of the community supports the initiative to switch to solar energy. This overwhelming support, paired with the numerous benefits of solar, including reduced emissions, elimination of energy bills, cleaner air, and energy independence, clearly reveal that solar is the way to go for the district. These benefits of solar panels are also actually seen in practice in numerous school districts across the nation, such as the Tuscan Unified School District. In just 20 years, the district is estimated to save over $43 million and reduce carbon emissions by 40 million pounds a year. Solar energy has also allowed for energy independence, allowing for schools like these to act as emergency shelters with always working energy. The installation of solar panels in schools not only can be done, but it is the smart thing that should be done. By purchasing solar panels now, we can make a smart investment towards our future that will undoubtedly pay itself back and create a surplus that can be used for other, better things than energy bills. Furthermore, implementing solar panels is necessary to sustain our environment for decades to come. The installation of solar panels is not only a moral obligation, but also an economic one, as it will save our district money in the long run and ensure a brighter future for our students. As a student in this district, I want to help with taking action to preserve our schools and communities for years to come, and I urge you to support the installation of solar panels in order to create a brighter, more sustainable future for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker, Matangi Jambunathan. Done?
Thank you, everyone. We now move to our consent agenda and superintendent report. We will start with the superintendent report. Dr. Talley.
Ms. Donahue, members of the Board of Education, Indian Prairie community, I have to start my comments with sad news. Ms. Nicole Dickerson, a fourth grade teacher at Welch Elementary School, passed away last night. Ms. Dickerson also taught at Collishaw, and her husband was a teacher at Nequa Valley. Their children are Indian Prairie School children. Ms. Dickerson was a valued member at Welch community and will be missed. I ask that we take a moment to remember Nicole Dickerson. Thank you. April is National Arab American Heritage Month. This month celebrates the contribution that Arab Americans have played in our nation's history. As stated by the press release from the Secretary of State, quote, Americans of Arab heritage have advanced the nation's achievement in diplomacy, science, technology, as well as in art and culture. Our schools, in their own way, will celebrate that this month. It is time to sign up for IPF Run Walk that will take place in October. Now, I will be walking. I do not run it, but I signed up today. This year will be the 10th anniversary of the event. You have until April 30th to sign up for the run. All funds raised go back in supporting our students through such events as robotics, Valley Runway, and our course, the Fine Arts Festival. And before I turn the meeting back, I would like the Board of Ed to approve the appointment of Ms. Toya Pryor as principal of Hill Middle School effective July 1, 2024. Ms. Pryor is replacing Mr. Mike Dutut, who will have another assignment next year. Ms. Pryor is coming to us from Valley View Middle School in Edina, Minnesota, where she is currently a principal. Ms. Pryor has worked in a variety of roles as a teacher, special education program supervisor, and assistant principal, both here in Illinois and in Minnesota. She's excited about returning to Illinois and working with the staff at Hill Middle School. Though she is not here, she is watching the Board of Ed meeting tonight. Ms. Donahue, I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Okay, I need a motion to approve Toya Pryor as principal of Hill Middle School as presented.
I move that the Board of Education approve Toya Pryor as the principal of Hill Middle School as presented.
I second.
Any discussion? Michelle, will you please call the roll? Oh, was there a comment? Oh, okay.
Mr. Rising, are you there?
Do you have a comment? No. Oh, okay. All right, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick?
Yes.
Mr. Rising? Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
And Ms. Jane?
Yes.
The motion passes. Very happy to have Toya come into our district, so thank you. Next, we move to our consent agenda. I need a motion and a second for our consent agenda items E through Z. There's a lot.
I move to approve consent agenda items E through Z.
A second.
Any discussion? Okay, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Jane?
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick?
Yes.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Mr. Rising? Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
The motion passes. Next, we move to our action items, and I need a motion and a second to approve the E-rate.
We do action item E-rate.
Yeah. E-rate wireless project as presented.
I move that the Board of Education approve the E-rate wireless project as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Michelle, will you please? Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
And actually, we're going to have Rod Mack and others come. We'll have Rod Mack come to the table to present.
Wait 1 second. Mr. Rising, wait 1 second. All right. Mr. Mack is coming to the table to talk about this.
You want us to take questions, or we'll just go through the
Go,
presentation?
go through the presentation, then we'll catch Mr. Rising.
Okay, yeah, this isn't the tech update, this is just about this E-rate presentation for the upgraded wireless solution.
Currently, we're at a position where we have, up to date this year, we have to replace our wireless controllers and about 500 access points as part of the normal refresh. We're on a controller system right now, so about 1/3 of the access points and the controllers need to be replaced. Again, we tried to look at 3 possible options to fix this solution. First one is just replace the controllers and the 500 access points that are out. That would keep us on a controllered system. Again, there's a few, the controller goes out, all of the access points go out. As you can see, currently there's about 1,650 access points. So wireless refreshes happened about once every 3 years, or once a year for 3 years to replace them all. We looked at the newer technology that's out there and to go with a controllerless solution. It really does give us a lot more visibility into the system. If we looked at that possible option, we would be replacing all of the access points and not the controllers. Again, a different solution. We also had a third possibility, which is a full refresh. One thing we want to explain as we go through this is we're going to take a look at a little bit at the history. Currently, right now, our access points offer two different frequencies, 2.4 and 5. The 5 frequency is the fastest frequency or faster frequency. It's what you would use for video streaming. If you were, students again in the classroom streaming, people gaming. We don't really game in the classroom as much as probably some students would love to, but that's what is controlled on that 5 gigahertz. 2.4 is an actual stronger signal, but it is a slower bandwidth, meaning it's used a lot when you're just checking email. If you have smart home devices, they're probably all connected on a 2.4. Our current wireless that we have with the wireless controllers only offer those 2 solutions. There is a new frequency out, which is 6 or 6E. As you can see from this graph here, the throughput, again, the original 2.4 gigahertz throughput is, again, how much traffic it can handle at one time. Think of it as, I think in the email I sent out, think of it as a straw, how much data you could fit in a straw. Throughput of a 5 gigahertz is how much you could put in a hose, and a fire hose would be the new 6. Again, as we've changed what we're doing in the classroom, students just aren't logging in and writing papers anymore. They're doing, high-duty streaming services. That throughput is important. Range is how far the signal will go, and that's also dependent on barriers in the way. So wireless through even that wall or through a cinder block wall, 2.4 can penetrate further. Again, why many of your smart home devices and Ring doorbells and stuff are on a 2.4, they can get to the outside. The 5 and the 6 have a little bit less range. They don't do real well with any type of a barrier, windows, anything like that, even just regular drywall. In your own house, you lose a little bit if you're not right next to the access point. And then latency is really how fast or how slow things travel from one to the other. So again, a 2.4 has a little bit more latency, meaning it takes longer for something to travel from point A to B and back. So again, the new 6 frequency is a lot faster. So again, when you're requesting that data or something to come down, it comes down at a much faster rate. This is a little bit of a history lesson. This is one of the elementary schools, and again, we just used one building. It is very similar across all middles, high schools, and everything. Those red circles are where the original access points were placed. This was in 2004, 5, or 6, depending on when. I actually was here during that time. I remember the first access points going in. This is what a sample first floor looked like. At that time, it was really, again, the 2.4 gigahertz signal was the only one out. So they placed them where they could get into the classrooms. Over time, this is what it looks like now with the little green. That's where all the access points are. Those added access points that were put into about every other classroom, again, done at the middle school level as well, and in the high schools, if you were to look at those maps, was not with instruction in mind. This was, if everybody remember, this was PARC. We needed to do online testing, and we had to do it in every single classroom. We needed wireless coverage. We weren't one-to-one yet. That was probably the second iteration of wireless. The second or third, if you've been here, you've been approving access points, because I think we buy 500 again almost every year. But a change was never laid out into where they go. It was just, we'll upgrade to a newer one with a little bit more power, but we never really changed. This layout, again, as we know, many of the buildings are identical. It really still looks like this across at least all the elementaries. Very similar across the middles. Here it is with signal strength lit up. Red and orange are good. Red, of course, is very good. Orange is good. Yellow is, if you were to think about it, it's like one bar. So if you're ever on a phone call or getting something, you're connected, but you're not doing anything other than replying with a yes or a no. For testing purposes, the yellow works fine, and that's what a lot of what was happening in the classroom at the time, because they're just hitting an A, B, C, and the park test or whatever it was. But as we get into more high-level traffic, this really doesn't work. You'll take a few rooms here. I highlighted a few areas just in standard elementary, and these are very similar. We have the art rooms in most of the buildings. They have 2 cinder block walls in front. Even with an access point right out in the hall, those art rooms do not have a signal, at least in the 2.4 range. You get little pockets in those 4 rooms where the access points are far away, where it's, you know, someone's going to get connected, but they're not going to be streaming. They're not going to really be able to take advantage of new services. You also get the 1 kindergarten room, and this is about true at every single building, that front kindergarten room. Again, kindergarten was not at the time a few years ago really into heavy streaming. They probably, in all honesty, have to walk out in the hall to connect right now as it is, and then walk back in their room. This is what the 5 gigahertz signal looks like. Again, you'll get a little bit more red areas, but you'll still see that there are, you know, quite a few, I don't want to call them dead zones, but that's really kind of what they are. There's going to be a limit in those areas. Again, kids will get connected, but they're probably not going to be doing heavy streaming services if that was requested. So one thing looking at that second option when we were looking at a replacement, even if we switched out all the green, I guess they look like bow ties on this map. If we switch out all the green bow ties, we would still have a problem in almost those same areas, because that new 6, even though a 2, 5, and a 6 would be there, still aren't going to penetrate through some of the walls and some of the others. So we've come to,
our recommendation would be to complete and replace as well as add the additional access points. After reviewing these options, we feel that this is the best way to move forward to give the students and staff the appropriate connection speed and throughput to connect with all the new evolving technology games that or educational games they're doing, the new testing that's coming out that's requiring video and audio. Some of the benefits with this would be the additional access points will provide better 5 as well as add the 6G coverage to all educational spaces. New access point, this new access point technology gives the tech team real-time insight into what the devices and the users are experiencing currently, as well as 7 days in the past. So we always run into situations where we got a user that will call and say, you know, every so often this happens to my device. And unless we're watching the access point in our current environment, we can't find out exactly what's going on. We can actually now, with this new technology, trace back prior to see exactly when that user was having the problem, and it'll tell us if it's the access point or if it's the user's device right there. So management will definitely be a big advantage for us here with this new technology. This new technology also has AI integrated in it to actually correct on the fly problems. Some of the problems that you will see in a wireless situation is if the power is too high on one access point and its neighboring access point, and they're fighting over the signal and they're causing collisions, basically. This new system will auto adjust power. It will turn off, like for instance, if we don't need 2.4 running on a particular access point because it's already got overlaying coverage of 2 neighboring access points, it'll be smart enough to turn its 2.4 off so there is no collisions. This also gives us the opportunity to leverage wireless solutions for safety and security purposes. Completing this full wireless build-out will definitely position us in the future for future upgrades, as the cables and lines will already be there.
Part of those 2 images there are 2 areas where I was able to find through the district where if you do have an access point in, again, every room would look up a bright red with an access point in every single room, is one of the other things. But again, it also allows us to, as we go through and look at refreshes, was a question someone asked, you know, what does this look like? This is a one-time doing it all at once and not breaking it up in thirds. We have a plan as we look to do that, as If access points make it 7, 8 years on average, then we start to look at, end of year 5, year 6, and get back into that where we are refreshing a third of the access points. Now that they're controllerless, we can do it building by building. A problem with doing that now is our access points, the way they came in, every building has about a third of the ones that need to be replaced, a third of the ones that would be replaced in a few years, and a third of the one, and again, just because of the way the build out happened, that this puts us in a plan where we're actually doing a full refresh, and for budgetary purposes and everything else, this just makes more sense. Very few times in tech do we want to rip and replace everything, but because this is a new technology out now, we will be years behind if we are doing a third again. So, looking at the recommendation, this was again an E-rate proposal. We had 7 bidders on this. Looking at this Juniper solution, we looked at a couple different solutions. We are currently a Cisco environment. They do offer a controllerless. It is a lot of the schools that have been using that have been having issues with it. So we are trying to steer and looking at a new solution that has come to market. That solution is around 2.4. We will get about 320 back in E-rate. That's all that we have left. I think that's one of the first times we will have spent all of E-rate money that's available. A new cycle starts not next year, but the following. Part of this recommendation we're looking for also is the cabling. Again, as we have about 1,100 spaces or 1,100 educational spaces, squares of a map that do not have an access point, they need the cable pulled. One thing we did was look at what parts of it could we handle. We're doing the install. They're pulling the cable, but our team will go up and pull the old ones down and replace the new ones. We're also saved money from their original enclosures. Is there an access point in here?
Yeah, right behind you.
The white enclosure with the lock and all of that kind of stuff is, we can actually put the access points up just similar to, I think that's probably a smoke detector or a fire, where it just goes right through the existing ceiling panels to save about $400 in enclosure. Still to code, there's no worries or anything about that. They still hang up or attached and have 2 cables running to them. But that total cable cost, which we're throwing into this, is 1.172 for a total approval of $3,320,000, which again, we went to Mr. Shipley when we had all this proposal with the bit of surplus that there is this year to, again, I don't know, timing worked out or it was better to take care of it because we can get it done this spring. Any questions? Where can we vote?
I'm not gonna, no, we'll just do this and then we're gonna vote, yeah. But I'm not gonna call on everybody. If someone has a question, I would tell you to speak up. Are there any questions?
My only question is, how long physically will it take to do the total refresh? Or rip out the old and put in the new?
So our biggest concern is, I'm sorry.
No, that's
okay.
Okay.
Our biggest concern is how fast we can get the cabling done.
Okay.
That's going to be the thing that holds us back. Supposedly, from my understanding, talking to the vendor, is these access points, we should get them pretty quickly after we order them. So the main goal for us would be to replace the existing access points before September, of course, so over the summer, as those controllers are going to be end of life and we're not going to be able to upgrade or patch them from security vulnerabilities. So that's our main focus, and as the wiring is getting done, we'll start installing them. I let our wiring guy know that we want to hit the junior highs, middle schools, and the high schools first. Put our focus there, and then we'll, if we have to blend over some of the wiring into the school year, we could do the elementaries at that point. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Rising, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, this is just, you'll have to mute, yeah. This is not, doesn't have anything to do with how much bandwidth we bring in. We have 13 gigabits?
Yes.
13 gigabits of bandwidth that comes in, that is staying the same. This is just helping that 13 gigs reach every classroom a little bit better right now. again, down the line, there'll be a bandwidth upgrade. As I put in that email, our next internet refresh at the end of July 2024, we're hoping to take advantage of the Do It Consortium, which is the Department of Technology of Illinois, who is now handling all that and actually covering the cost for WAN connections and internet. So there will be a savings, hopefully, at the end of this next cycle. They're in their second year of that, Do It, handling it for other districts. 204 was already under contract, so we had to wait till our current contract ends, which is at the end of 2024.
Any other questions? I know moving to 6 gigahertz is the future, and if we were doing something, that's what we need to move to. So I'm glad to see that you're doing that. Can you talk a little bit about the E-rate, like rebate, and what that is?
Sure. Every district gets a qualifying number for E-rate. It's reevaluated every 5 years. So again, this is year 4 of a 5-year E-rate cycle. Year 3 of a 5-year E-rate cycle. You have 5 years to spend that or get the rebate back based on your free and reduced. So we get 40% back. In the case, we used most of that 2 years ago when we bought the switches, which were, I can't even use the money off, but the rebate ended up being 1.4 million, I believe, or 1.5 million back on that. So that was 40% of that 3.2 million. It is a collection of federal dollars from everybody's phone bill. If you ever wonder what all of those excise taxes and fees that everybody pays, if you still have a home phone or even in your cell, all of that goes to the federal E-rate plan. Right now, we had $800,000 left in available spending, so 40% of that is we'll receive a rebate of $320,000. Those are the category 2s, which are equipment. We still get the rebate on our services through E-rate every year at that 40% as well. That's for, they no longer cover phones, but for internet and our WAN connections, which again, in a year and a half, those should go away completely and have no cost to us.
Thank you. All right, so we had a motion and a second, and we had some discussion. So Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Jane?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Mr. Rising? Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick?
Yes.
And Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you. All right, so now we will have a technology services update.
You guys need a break?
No, there's only two mics. No, thanks. And again, this is part of our technology services update portion of it. I'll turn it over to BJ and Brian here.
So one of the things we did this year was we did an external and internal pen test as well as a Google audit. And here are some of our findings. We're only publicly telling you about some of the findings that we've already resolved. If you want some more information, we can do that offline, but for the public, these are the ones that were resolved. So one of the things, the findings that, one of the recommendations was to change our password policy. As you can see in that chart below, we use something in the neighborhood of 10 to 7 characters with three different options, or 3 of the 4 options. And 3 of those, or the 4 options are using a number, using a capital letter, using a lowercase letter, or a symbol. What we're looking to do in the recommendation was to move it to a 16-character password with at least 2 recommendations. And as you can see on that chart, that'll take us all the way to 173 million years to crack. So,
actually, BJ, just to sorry to interrupt, but also we're talking past phrases, so we're not talking about a random string of characters, but something, your favorite book combined with your favorite vacation spot or similarly. So think more of the past phrases. And here I'm 16, like how am I going to make up 16? We're not thinking of the gobbledygook anymore. We're thinking about real natural language past phrases.
I actually like Rod's example.
Nobody puts baby in a corner. No, you can't use that.
Right. But with spaces in between those words, it's more secure than you picking 10 random characters and putting it into a password. So that was one thing. The other thing was some legacy protocols or older protocols for older systems and patching those. Admin accounts being reused on servers. So if we set up an admin, a local admin on one server, and we use that same account for a different server, the recommendation was don't do that. So that's already been fixed. Exposed interfaces, just outside switches that people were able to get access to from the outside. That was all resolved, and some third-party vendors. There were a couple of vendors that allowed us to use our service, or our external service, to pen test their systems too.
Then also talking about how Google's so integrated into the district, there's also a Google audit done on our management console. Came back with a few things, one of them being space limitations, making sure that our space wasn't filled up as a matter of a hacking attempt. So just put some security protocols around maximum space size for drives and shared spaces. Going through and looking at the number of super admins and admins. Do those accounts still need to be there? Are they secured correctly? A few legacy accounts and stuff were able to be combined or eliminated. And then as we're going through the whole district with everyone's favorite 2FA on all of our everything else, a couple of those system accounts did not have 2FA on them, which they do now. So just going through and making sure we're bringing up all the administrator accounts back up to the same standards we expect of the users. In terms of that ongoing cybersecurity and network thing, as we talked, we did the pen test. But one of the vulnerabilities, as always, as you talk to any news article, is phishing. The user is the weakest point of any system, whether it be a administrative or a regular user. Everyone needs to be on alert. So we use service to go through and do phishing campaigns against our staff. And nobody's perfect, but it's one of those life skills. It helps with you on your personal accounts and also the district. So it's an improvement, and we are better than the industry average. But it'd be nice to see that number have rather than going down and points things to focus on the first one. That comes with anything from did they open it, did they respond to it, did they scan a QR code. The more things you do to something, the worse off you get. Reply, did you include your personal information in the reply? Did you actually submit your credit card to get your free gift card? Those things to be acknowledged are what the phishing emails look like. They're getting better and better. Unfortunately, the new AI programs also help the attackers write better phishing emails. So while some of ours may look like we're trying to really trick someone or get someone, it's really more about an informational campaign and training people what to look for and how to spot those things to protect the district and protect yourself in your day-to-day life.
And actually got an email yesterday from the last one of these, because they are constantly running. So we got the update on Sunday. The last was 5.8. So as the last campaign of all 3,800 people. So we continue to go tick down, which is good. I didn't have time to update this. It was already published.
Okay, and back in, I believe it was October, we went through the network and infrastructure, lifespan, and where we were at and everything like that. This year, we did do a phone system upgrade. As we were several years behind and unsupported, a phone system upgrade was needed. Currently, we have 2 more years left on our licensing, so we are looking into possibly a different solution that would more integrate with the safety and security throughout the buildings. The access point approval will take care of the wireless LAN controllers as well as our access points up there. We are still working on these new server and SAN space that we acquired in October. The team has gone through training, and now we are getting down to the implementation, and then we can start testing our whole DR policy.
The phone system thing we're looking at here in 2 years also will take care of those voice gateway routers. So again, next year as we present this, we won't have anything that really on our radar is a scary item as to way out of current cycle, and many of them in their, will be able to build into one of those long-range plans where we'd be able to say, this is being redone in 2024, 25, 26. I think it will help Mr. Shipley and all of us as we start to plan what these larger capital items are.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is so that we don't have to come every so often and ask for large sums of money, where we can just have a set amount that puts us on a cycle on a year-to-year replacement.
One of the projects we've been working on throughout the school year has been in the copy centers. We were for several years now, decades really, been working with 203 to help with some of our copy center in the 95th Library building, and looking at some audits and what jobs are going there, and also re-looking at the cost structure of what our current devices do. We looked at about 90 to 95%, up to 95% of the jobs we were sitting in the copy center are straight black, white, color, staple. They're nothing overly complicated. If we can do those types of things in the schools and then also elevate up and use the copy clerks in our high schools, we could do that in-house at a bigger savings than what we could use in partnering with 203. We purchased last fall's website that teachers can submit through. High schools have been using it for about 6 months now. We just got the middle schools on board in the last 6 weeks, working with the elementary. As part of that software also allow for some automated workflow of some of the smaller jobs. You have 200 sheet, black and white staple. Each will be able to just auto print. The copy clerk can put it in an envelope and ship it off to the elementary school. We're trying to figure out what that line is of what should stay in the school versus what should be sent to the copy center of the high schools. And also evaluating if jobs can be done differently. Do we need to print the whole packet for the entire year? Can we print it 1 quarter at a time just to cut down on the volume coming at any one time, and also that type of thing. And then refocus what jobs go to the copy center, what stays in-house. And we still will have a relationship with District 203. They've been great to work with, helping us with this transition. But we're still going to have those production type of jobs where we simply don't have the equipment, the training, or quite frankly, the physical space to do them. So some of that, large spiral-bound jobs, poster printing, glue, pamphlets, and those types of things that were above and beyond the straight copy print staple, will go there. One of the other things, the new copiers that the high schools have is something called saddle stitch. You get that booklet with the staples in the middle. Can we look at moving some of our spiral-bound stuff to staple stitch we could do in-house? Even just running one spiral-bound book, just the spiral binding itself is about 75 cents. So if you do that for a penny for the staple, there's some savings to be had. Overall, hoping to be in the $200,000 to $300,000 in cost savings once we get everything transitioned over the next year into 2. Right now it's more been a pilot. We're just ramping up for that right now. Some of that is split between actual print cost savings and some of the overhead we had as part of the 203 agreement. So those two things combined together is what we're looking for. It's hard to say year to year because no one prints the exact same thing every year in every location, every space. So that's a moving number, but based off of our audits, that's kind of where we thought we would fall in at.
And some of that too is as education itself has changed and so much things have gone online. Part of that too is right timing to do this.
And then in terms of support and stuff, we just people may not remember, but during COVID, we had some supply chain issues. I'm sure this is the first you're hearing of that. But the docking stations we would normally buy were simply not available. Lead times were anywhere between 12 and 24 months, and we needed them in 3. At the time, I believe I bought the last 900 docks in North America, and that's not an exaggeration. It wasn't what we wanted, it's what we could get. They've been a little problematic over the years in terms of performance. So we were able to move some stuff around. The vendors were good about keeping costs down this year for us, and we were able to squeeze in a replacement for the elementary docks. Got those done over, for the most part, 99% over spring break, so teachers were happy to walk back to a new surprise. A little iffy there on a go. They got stuck in customs for 5 days for lack of a number. Well, figured out 5 days later what the number was being. We finally got the number and got them in. So we scrambled at the last minute, but got it done. And then for this year's summer refresh, we're looking at Project Lead the Way labs in the middle schools, a couple in the high schools, and middle school staff laptops, and the new docks to support them. Their docks in their school, I think, are on their third refresh right now, and they're no longer, that form factor is no longer supported, so we got to replace the docks this year. We tend to hope to get 6 to 10 years out of a dock. So, and the other thing that's been going on, which Andy Fecady on curriculum instruction on Brian Giovannini's team has been spearheading this. He's done a phenomenal job, but we can set up the infrastructure, and he's been doing the training out in the schools, is moving our department's drives, the iDrives, from local servers on the SAN to free up some of that space and work that BJ's and his teams are doing, and moving that stuff up to the cloud. So we've got the storage up in Google. Also allows that to be more available. Department's drives are not available at home unless you VPN in. It's a tongue twister. And this will allow those department's drives to be available from wherever they are without jumping that extra hurdle. Elementary has one school to go this Wednesday with Andy, and then he's moving on to middle schools. As many of those we can get done before school's out, and whatever we don't get done, we'll pick up in the middle schools and high schools in the fall. And like I said, this will eliminate 99% of the VPN needs in the district. Most of that is just the access to the department's drives at this point, because so many of the products and stuff is moved online in the cloud.
Again, that's a major security focus of ours too, just because, you know, a handful of the districts in this area that have gotten hit with some type, they came in through a VPN, is how they ended up getting into a district. So the more we can eliminate the need of a VPN and put things in the cloud, the better. And then future focus, a couple things that we're working on. We're looking at a two-way radio plan right now. Again, with a phone upgrade and communication being a huge piece. We are still using legacy radios. Don't want to throw good money at a bad solution, so we are really taking our time to look at what's possible out there. We do have a large number of the radios that we do have right now are on the new digital frequency, but with the phone system changing, possible intercom changes, the master facility plan, we're really trying to look at what those two-way radio and what that plan is. Right now, some of the nice digital ones, people feel like it's like they're carrying, you know, the old car phone with them. You remember, like the Zach Morris is what those radios look like. Some of the new ones are much smaller, but you're paying an airtime fee for it because it's kind of a cellular signal. So really trying to make sure that we're not overspending how much that is needed. So we look at some of the two-way radios. You know, we have crossing guards and things that take radios for 10 minutes a day. Is there a hybrid model? We're not sure, but something we might be bringing back this spring as we work with the Safety and Security Committee, looking at what those two-way radios look like. We're doing Synergy gradebook work. That's kind of a refocus this year. We had some issues at semester with grade books. Again, one of the sell points of Synergy was teachers can create their own grade books, and it's not you have to follow you know the way it is. Well, that's happened. We have probably 2,000 different grade books. You know, everyone sets it up differently. Well, then when there's an issue at the end of the semester, it's really hard to figure out what that is. So part of that is we do think it's more of a retraining. No one's doing anything wrong. It's just, oh, I think I want it to work this way, and it makes sense. So we're really focusing on retraining. We have an update coming out to the staff at the end of this week, and there's a survey that we're asking the teachers to look at so we can really kind of make some really targeted training, whether it be online training, just 2-minute video trainings, but really to look at what it is that they're struggling with. Also seeking to find out if we were to create some standard grade books. And again, take away the allure of what sold some, I can create it my own, but really make some, you know, make 30 or 40 and say, does one of these grade books work for you? And then our team creates it and they just adopt it into their course. But we don't want to force that on people. We're really looking for their feedback, but it's going to be a focus over this end of spring, summer, and into next fall to really, you know, it's probably the one, again, teachers are the major big users of Synergy, and when they're having problems, you know, I graded it like this, and this one piece is missing, and it's hard for them to sometimes figure out why. Again, I don't think anyone's doing anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with the program. It's just somewhere in the programming, when they created their grade book, you know, a checkbox got missed, and it takes someone to really look into it. So we think a retraining is needed there. The last thing that we've got on there, and this is actually tomorrow, we have David Jakes from David Jakes Design. He's actually a former 204 teacher. Did you have him?
Yeah, environmental class.
Yeah, we were here the other day, and someone else walked up and goes, "Are you Mr. Jakes? I had you in biology." He is actually still a 204 resident. He's actually a national speaker now. He was an educator for 25 years. He works a lot with spaces and educational spaces. So as part of an add-on, what we're doing with the master facility plan and what White & Company's doing, some members from White & Company will be here tomorrow too for this workshop engagement. He does a kind of a deeper dive into the educational environment. We used a little bit of our, I don't remember what the name of the grant is now, with Brian Giovannini and I. It was the Illinois Ed, I cannot remember to life me what the name of the grant was.
Yeah, it was a grant for about $400,000, I believe.
Yeah, it was an e-learning grant.
Yes, it was an e-learning grant.
When we found out about that grant, it was before we had finished and selected White & Company or any of those. We were still talking as us as a team, and Brian Giovannini and Andy and Molly, we were in a room and we're like, does everyone know what's out there? And we had started talking about this and thought about getting an expert in just to kind of, from the educational side, to tell us what is available out there. Not just what can be bought and show pictures, but to have a little bit deeper dive to where we can help create a vision. So his first engagement is with us tomorrow with a level K-12. About 60 people will be here to kind of take that deep dive. He then does a couple of things very similar to what White & Company do. Just go and talk to people about what, and then he'll give us a presentation at the end that we will be able to share with White & Company as well, just as kind of another added look as to here's what we think is going to happen. Again, we're using it from the standpoint too, as we're beginning to create things that go in classrooms, and we had just on the smart boards at the elementary level. Well, what's next? And we know some of that will come from the master facility plan, but what areas might not get touched by that? How do we as a department continue to be going in the correct direction with that? So this was just another added look into doing it. Again, it's nice that the name was mentioned right away, and I'm like, he's got to still live around. He's still a community member in the area. So, and he taught here from, well, when you and I were there in the 80s until 96, I think he said he left. So he was happy to be back, was new for him. So, and that's, I think, all we have. This is our the strategic, where we are meeting the strategic plan focus. And then any questions on anything we went over? We kind of read through that quick.
All right. Ms. Grover, do you have any questions?
I just have a quick question. Does every student have the two-step verification that they have to do now?
Students do not yet. We would love to get to that, but we just got the teachers there.
Okay.
We're hoping, what's really nice is Rapid Identity does have a solution for us that we can probably roll out where for the younger kids it can still be, they can hold up a QR code and then pick a picture that they're familiar with. It is just, we want to get staff comfortable with all of that, and we will look to roll that out, probably starting at the high school level though.
And then the Chromebooks, like if you're going from elementary to middle and then middle to high school, when you're in that cusp, do you keep your Chromebook? Like if you're in 8th grade and then going to 9th grade next year, do you keep it or do you return it?
Return it. Basically, we've kind of assigned the Chromebooks because we purchased them we purchased them all for middle school, all for high school, all for elementary. So we're not really on that structure of some districts that where we purchase something in 9th grade, every 9th grader every year. We kind of, I've looked a few times at trying to undoing that, but it requires an influx of money in year one in order to break that cycle. So as the 5th graders exit out and graduate, they'll leave theirs at their school. Same with 8th graders. They'll cycle down to the new 6th grader.
And all their data that they had, because all that, it's all
the data on a
taken out.
Chromebook is encrypted by default. So even if you see another account on there, unless you know there's passwords, there's nothing you can do to get it. It's encrypted at rest.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Karubas? No. Ms. Jane?
No question, just a quick comment. I learn something new every time, and I appreciate, like the Zach Morris reference too, brought me back. But thank you for such an informative presentation.
Ms. Fosdick?
No questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Rising?
Yeah, just, I know these password changes, phishing, I know it's a pain for end users. But if you could just give like a 1 or 2 sentence, why it's so important to us as a district, why it's so important to
I mean, I think the biggest, yeah, I think the biggest thing for us in education is we're a target, and I think I mentioned that, I think, in the last springtime, when we brought in CrowdStrike. For us, we're a target because the hackers out there think that schools aren't prepared for it. So we actually have to be more hyper-vigilant, and it only takes one accident to give someone the access. I think we saw a lot through the pen test as to how, passwords aren't, I always joke, if you've ever seen, Clear and Present Danger, where he sits down and, we need, we're beyond birthdays, I mean, no one's sitting there hacking someone's password. It's a computer system that's doing it. And when you see how quickly that system was able to grab our passwords, which to us are gobbledygook, even if it was 8 or 9 characters, we're like, oh, that took all of 7 seconds. Well, that's scary. Again, someone has to be in to get there, but it really comes down to money. You don't want to be at the behest of someone saying, I want 4 Bitcoin. I mean, who cares? 4 Bitcoin could be, $120,000 or $150,000, or you're never getting it back. Once you let them in once, they're going to continue to sniff around your IP range forever. So it's good to never let them in once.
Well, and then the other thing is just, on the 2FA is just verifying you are who you say they are. It just provides that extra hurdle. That's the same reason we lock our doors at night. At some point, the doors are unlocked. In Mayberry, the door's starting to be locked. You just start, as their threats increase, you just have to figure out what to provide those bigger and bigger hurdles. It's safer. There's never completely safe, but if we can do anything and layer systems in. Also, as you look at passphrases, if we get up to 167 million years or whatever it was, 16.7 million years to hack a 16-digit password, we can look about not having you to have to change it. If you're secure by default, you don't have to change security. It's moving into that more secure methodology.
Yeah, and even talking to other school districts that have gone through a similar situation, some of them have said, we wish we would have just paid instead of trying to fight this. It's not a fun situation, and there's been school districts that have been brought to their knees for months. In certain systems. And so our job is to make it as difficult as possible so that these hackers decide they want to just kind of move on to the next school district.
You don't have to be the fastest person running from a bear. You just have to be faster than the run next to you.
Yeah, thank you. The whole thing about our system safety and protection is so important. When you said 16 characters, though, I honestly, I don't know how many times I've gone into something and they're like, would you like this password? And it's like gobbledygook, or pick one of your own. And it's like, there's no way I'm ever picking this massive thing of crazy letters. I'll never remember it and whatever. So I'm glad that you're not saying the 16 have to be like that. Also thanks for looking for ways to create savings for the district. That's incredibly important for us, even though I know you're spending a lot of money. There also is the component of savings, so that's good, yeah. We had a lot of students tonight talk about the environment, so also ways to save energy or whatever is also something I'd like to continue to have in the forefront of our thoughts when we're looking at changes and things. So, but thank you very much. Very, very good update, and thank you.
I just want to say, we received the grant of $336,000, and it was for Elementary and Secondary Relief Digital Equity Forum grant. It was supposed to provide 1-to-1, but since we already had that in place, we were able to use it for professional development.
Yeah, we use it for professional development, and a couple things went to, I don't want to say seed, but some newer technologies out there we're putting at the middle and the high school and the elementary level, and some things that they'd requested along the areas of STEM too. So those are being purchased, but this was the one big PD piece we did.
Yeah, I've become suspicious of every email that isn't from someone I know. And maybe people just have to have that in their minds, because they are getting very much more sophisticated with what they're sending you and things. So
We will never admit if any of us have been caught.
yeah. All right, so now we have legislative advocacy and Board of Education update. Does anyone have any items?
Point of order first.
Yes.
There was some discussion in executive session
Yes.
about pulling an item
Yes.
from the consent agenda.
Was it still in there?
And there's been some offline discussion about it. So I want to make sure that we as a board are comfortable with that. So I believe we wanted to pull item H from consent agenda item. Can I get a confirmation on that? Okay.
So, actually, it was confusion. We thought it was an action item, not a consent item.
That's what.
And that's where the confusion started. So therefore, you can pull, if you want to pull the consent item, then you may. But it was never an action item to begin with, and so that's where the confusion was.
So I think in light of that, and since we approved it, I'm going to make a motion to revoke our approval of E through Z, and then do a motion to approve consent agenda items E through Z with the exception of H.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable to our secretary?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any negative behind approving it, but I think just for clarity. So do I have a second for Mr. Carubus's motion? Okay. Any discussion? All right, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Want me to write it out?
1 second, sorry. Mr. Carubus,
Yes.
Mr. Rising, Ms. Grover, Ms. Fosdick,
I will abstain as I was not present for executive session.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Ms. Jane,
Yes.
Okay, did you call Mr. Rising? Okay. The motion passes. And now I need a motion to approve consent agenda items E through G and I through Z. Is someone going to make the motion?
I move that we approve consent agenda items E through Z with the exception of H.
Okay.
I second.
Any discussion? All right, Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Carubus,
Yes.
Ms. Jane,
Yes.
Ms. Grover, Mr. Rising, Ms. Donahue,
Yes,
and Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
the motion passes. All right. Now, does anybody have any legislative or Board of Education updates? We are meeting tomorrow night for a special board meeting, and I'm looking forward to that. Should be a good discussion. But anything else? Nope. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Aye.
Yes.